I met Artem on a dating app. He was so charming on our first date at the cute cafe near my work. I was instantly attracted to his dark hair, broad shoulders, and intense brown eyes. He was such a gentleman and kept me intrigued with his stories of his thrill adventures, including bungee jumping in Asia and safari trekking in Africa. Our second date was a walk through the park with coffees last Sunday afternoon. He told me all about his work as a teacher and how he enjoyed living in the city after growing up in a smaller country. Our conversations flowed so naturally, and I was excited to spend more time with him. When he texted me after our second date to go to a theater performance late tonight, I was so excited. Most guys are always planning dates at a bar. A theater performance felt so sophisticated. Artem was different. He was artsy and adventurous. "I'll pick you up at 7 p.m. I can't wait for you to experience this. You will love the show." This is what I really liked about Artem. He was always so clear and direct. 7 p.m. came and he was parked right outside my door. "We have to get the tickets from the seller first. It's very hard to get tickets for these types of shows. It won't be long. It's on the way to the theater," he said as I hopped into the car and he started driving. "I've never heard of the Rhino Theater before. Is it new?" I asked. "Nah, it's super old. It's usually an older crowd, but I enjoy the art so much. I like going to lesser known spots. It's more of my vibe." How was Artem so cool? I couldn't stop smiling thinking about how thrilling my life was going to be dating him. Maybe our next date I could finally introduce him to my friends. They would be so intrigued by his charm. We pulled up into a quiet neighborhood with a few houses on the block. The roads were dark now, but one streetlight was on, flickering at the end of the road. We pulled up and I saw a tall, lanky guy with his hood on standing under the light. Artem pulled up near to the guy and parked the car. The light kept flickering and the radio started to turn to static. Artem turned it off and his eyes focused in on the clock. "There's the guy. 7:18 right now. I have to wait till 7:20 to meet him." I laughed. "I didn't know you were into superstitions. He's very particular on these tickets. They are very rare, you see. So mysterious." I'm excited. I went to turn on the radio again, but Artem swatted away my hand. "No music. He will hear. He enjoys the quiet." I looked at the guy standing outside and noticed he hadn't moved this whole time. His face still hidden under his large hood. "Ah, there it is. 7:20. I'll be right back, my dear," Artem said as he kissed me on the cheek and hopped out the door. I watched him as he walked up to the guy. I couldn't see him anymore as Artem was blocking him from my view. I saw the two stand there and didn't notice any movement. After a few seconds, Artem turned around and headed back to the car. It was strange as the guy stood there, not moving. "Got the tickets." He flashed the two shiny ticket stubs with the largest grin on his face and began to drive away. What did the guy say? I barely saw him move. Such a strange place to sell tickets, don't you think? I asked. "Just because you didn't see him move doesn't mean it didn't happen." Artem laughed. "You're so funny. How could you see in this dark anyways?" "Oh yeah," he reminded me. "Don't get the popcorn today. It's Tuesday." "Popcorn isn't good on Tuesdays. You ask a lot of questions, don't you? This will be a fun time." He smiled at me and kept driving. We finally got to the spot. The area looked abandoned with no buildings but the theater, which was a warehouse with no windows and with a few cars parked outside it. We parked near the other cars and walked up to what looked like a back entrance with light coming out of the doorway. This does really look off the beaten path. I do like these hipster-type places. You are really in for a treat then. Artem held my hand as we walked up to the doorway and he knocked 3 times, each knock with a few second pause in between. An older gentleman opened the doors and I saw the bright lights and colorful red walls in the lobby inside. Artem handed the gentleman our tickets and we walked inside. The carpet was so soft and the lobby was filled with pictures of theater performances. Right in front of us was the concession stand that was filled with different variety of candy and popcorn all along the wall. This place looked so magical. "Let's get some snacks first. The theater is to our left. We have a few minutes. We definitely can't be late," Artem said. There was no one else around, so we walked up to the concession stand and got served right away. The server behind the counter had a really nice red suit uniform on. I saw his gold-plated name tag. "Hi, Alec, what's the best thing you have here?" I asked. "Ah, newbie, you are definitely in for a treat. I would recommend everything, but if you have a sweet tooth, this chocolate is great." I look over at Artem to see if he approved. "Whatever you want, that looks great." "Okay, we'll take that chocolate." "And how about popcorn?" I asked. "Are you sure?" Alex said, looking over to Artem, whose smile had faded from his face. "Just the chocolate is good. We don't want to cause a disturbance with popcorn munching," Alex said as he paid for the chocolate snacks. "I guess we follow silly rules," I jokingly say to Artem, but his serious look didn't change. "This chocolate will be great. Let's get to our seats." Artem took my hand and we walked to the large, heavy theater doors. A little push and the doors flew open, revealing a large opera-style theater with hundreds of seats. The theater had so many people sitting inside. I was shocked as the parking lot was fairly empty. The majority of the front was packed. Most people looked excited and quietly whispered while waiting for the performance to start. Artem and I sat near the back, having lots of space to ourselves as the back wasn't as packed as the front. In front of us, I saw a very old couple sitting a few seats down from us. They must have been in their late 60s and were dressed very nicely, the lady wearing a nice brown shawl around her, and the man wearing a tweed blazer. Everyone looked so sophisticated at this theater. You comfy? I'm so excited for you to experience this. I come every week, Artem said gleefully. Yes, very comfy and ready for the show. Also, you come every week, doesn't it get boring? Nah, there's always something different each time. The actors really make the show. It's about to start now. The lights in the theater started dimming and the stage curtains opened. On the stage, a few younger actors around our age walked out, looking a bit petrified and the stage lights blinding them. They slowly walked around the stage, looking at the audience. Their faces looked pale and nervous. I looked over at Artem and he looked like a kid at a candy store, the biggest smile on his face. Oh look, there's Clary. I dated her, she looks good in that outfit, he whispered to me as a girl walked slowly onto the stage. The actors started looking at each other and then one finally spoke. It sounded like Shakespeare. I couldn't understand what they were saying. All the actors were using soft voices and generally looked confused and nervous. After 20 minutes of them walking around and random props coming onto the set, finally the curtains closed and the lights turned on a bit, indicating an intermission. What was that? I could barely understand. Are they amateurs? I whispered. Artem laughed. Don't worry, you'll start to understand it over time. They all do. I glanced around the audience and noticed everyone was still. Maybe the intermission is very quick. I looked over and noticed the older couple that was sitting close to us. The woman had turned her head and was staring directly at me. After she saw me notice her, she turned away. This theater was starting to be very creepy. I took out my phone to look at it and Artem quickly patted me. No need to check your phone, dear. It's a date. Also, there is no cell service here anyways. I'm going to quickly go to the bathroom, I said, putting my phone away. Okay, be quick. The show will start soon. It's right inside the lobby. I got up and walked towards the lobby and everyone in the theater was sitting still in their seats, creeping me out even more. How were they enjoying this performance? I got into the bathroom and checked my phone. Still no service. Must be a dead zone area. After a few moments, I heard the bathroom door creak open and turned around. The old lady who was sitting in front of us was standing at the doorway, looking at me. Hi, enjoying the show? I asked, trying to make small talk. She just started back at me and didn't say a word. She walked up to the sink and didn't turn it on. Now just staring at the mirror. What is this place? I was hoping she would tell me something. She turned around and looked at me. I could now see her eyes. They were such a deep dark black. She continued to stare at me and then just walked back out the bathroom door. I felt a cold shiver run through my body. This creepy place was starting to really scare me. Where had Artem brought me? Why was this old lady always staring at me? I started to think if I should just call an Uber and get out of here. I didn't know if I was being crazy. Sure, it was a weird performance, but Artem had been fun. I didn't want to ruin it with one bad date. Maybe everything was just in my mind and I needed to relax. This was probably a different type of sophisticated art I wasn't used to. I walked back into the lobby. No one was around still. I checked my phone again. Still no reception. I started walking to the concession to talk to the guy from earlier. Maybe he could tell me more about this place. Alec was there standing behind the counter, but I noticed his body was frozen, exactly like a statue, not even blinking. How can this be? I thought. I had just spoken to him before the show started. I walked up to the door to the entrance of the place, hoping I could get some reception outside. I needed to Google this place and learn more about it and also tell my friends my location. This date was not going how I thought. This place was truly strange. How could Alec be frozen still now? This wasn't just in my head now. The doorman was no longer at the door entrance. I tried pushing it open, but the door wouldn't budge. He must have locked it. I started to panic as I was getting scared now. What have I gotten myself into? This was becoming so sketchy, I thought. I didn't know what to do other than play it cool with Artem. I had to just get out of here safely. I walked back into the theater and closely looked at the audience. I started to notice they were statues too. No one was moving or blinking. I hurried to my seat and sat next to Artem, trying not to show him my panic. He was looking so giddy still. I was hoping this would all be over soon and I could be home safe at my place. What took you so long? The show is about to start again. How was he having so much fun with this? He was not the guy that I had imagined. I was reapplying my makeup. What do you want to do after the show ends? I was hoping he wouldn't notice my sweat and keep things normal with talking about afterwards from this place. Artem just laughed. Getting a little bit ahead, aren't you? Just enjoy this second half. You'll begin to love it. They all do eventually. I looked over at the couple who was sitting near us. The lady was back in her seat. They didn't move at all. I wondered if they were statues too. The lights dimmed again and the actors came back onto the stage. I started to think if they were being forced to perform, it would explain their terror and fright on stage. The actors again spoke cryptic lines and walked about the stage. I couldn't focus. My mind was running through endless possibilities. I started beating myself up for not paying attention on how we drove here. Even if I could get outside, I had no clue where we were. Everything was so deserted. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, the show ended. The actors took a bow on stage and stood as the curtains closed in front of them. I heard clapping but looked closely and noticed the audience members weren't moving. Artem was clapping furiously, so I joined in to fit in with him and play along, hoping this date would end soon. Wasn't that exhilarating? That last actress, she's Emma. I know her too. This was her first show. She did fantastic. Yeah, she was great. I tried to say with some enthusiasm. You look tired. Let's get you home. You'll need a lot of rest. We walked into the lobby and I saw the front entrance door was propped open. I felt a sigh of relief. I could finally get outside away from this place. We got into the car and Artem drove me home. He couldn't stop talking the whole drive about the show and the people he knew and the lines they said. My mind was just focused on getting home. Here we are. I hope you had a good night. I'll text you later. Bye, I said as I ran out his car as quickly as I could. I am never going to see this guy again. That was definitely the creepiest thing I had ever experienced or even heard of. I got inside and got ready for bed. I texted my friends' group chat saying I have to call them tomorrow and tell them all about this creepiest date ever. Everyone was asleep, so I didn't get a reaction from them yet. I noticed the light from the street glaring into my room as I was about to go to sleep. As I went to close the blinds, I looked outside and noticed someone standing under the street light across the street from my place. It was very late now and unusual for someone to be outside, so I looked closer. My body went numb as I noticed the person was the old lady from the theater. She was still wearing the brown shawl and staring directly at me. I jumped and quickly closed the blinds and hoped into bed. What was she doing here? How did she know where I lived? I thought. My body was starting to sweat, but I just told myself it was all in my imagination as I laid in the fetal position under my covers. Just as I closed my eyes, my phone dinged. I looked over at it and it was a text from Artem. I hope you were paying attention to the show. You'll have to memorize those lines sooner or later. The show must go on.